What's going on, everybody? We have another episode of Miami Hurricanes After Dark. It's always great to get a win, but it's even better when you're back in the top 10 where Miami should be at year in and year out. We have an excellent group of guests on tonight's show. I cannot wait to hear their opinions, to talk some Canes football with them. Ross, my co-host, is joining us once again. What do you got for us, Ross? I mean, there's so many things to talk about after the thriller game in Raleigh, North Carolina. What a shootout, man. Where do we even begin, Ross?
Man, I'm proud of these guys for showing some heart. I'm not sold that this last year's team would have the same kind of heart and that same kind of a battle on a Friday night. King is advertised as far as his leadership and putting this team on his back. To see them be able to do that late in the game was something that I think we all probably needed to see at some point. We may have not wanted to see it exactly against North Carolina State, but, we needed to see this team be able to do this against a team that might catch us by surprise a little bit, and that's kind of what happened. I will give major props right off the bat to Lashley and Likens, whatever they've done to our receiving core to light a fire under their ass and get them going. I appreciate it because we're seeing a whole world of difference right now between what we saw earlier in the season. We definitely have some issues, guys. We got some issues going forward here, but we got some positives to work with as well. Man, RC in the 305 here, man. What'd you see about this NC State game?
What I really was impressed with was the ability for two or three guys to go ahead and take over the game offensively. Obviously, D'Eriq, but most importantly, the alpha. I always talk about how alphas have to show up, and Mike Harley has done that. And whatever he's done outside of their 20-hour work week is starting to show, and that gets contagious. So what I saw was basically a different mentality offensively. You look at what Mark Pope was able to do, fight for two or three balls. He did have a big drop, okay, and so did Wiggins towards the end of the first half. But you're seeing the progress and the mental toughness. It's getting better. You make a mistake, it's on to the next snap. So you're seeing that the offense evolve, but you're seeing those alphas starting to take over. You mentioned the leadership D'Eriq brings, but it also has to come from those playmakers. And Mike Harley, the kid was in tears after the game. So you can't get more sincere than that.
Patrick, what were your thoughts about the game?
I really liked what RC said about making progress. That was the biggest thing to me. Week to week, the team looks better, not excellent, which we all, I think, anticipated before they even started. They're not going to be excellent. They're not going to be, the Clemson, the Ohio State, the Bama. It's not going to happen this year. So I think that progress is what we're expecting. We like to be with 6-1, but ultimately the game itself was ugly. Let's get down to brass tacks. It was not a pretty win. It was not what we were really expecting on the field.
No, I 100% agree, and that's a great point. We're not going to be the Ohio States, the Alabamas, or Clemsons. We're not elite yet. We're still rebuilding to that top elite Power 5, top 4 ranked opponent. I think we can slowly get there, if guys return. Great things about this game. We developed a number 1 wide receiver. I think moving forward, Mike Harley is our guy. That's our number 1 wide receiver we have to go to down the stretch. Probably his best game as a Miami Hurricane that I can think of off the top of my head. Also, this was the best performance I've ever seen from a Miami Hurricanes quarterback in quite a while. D'Eriq King, hell of a job. Everything we expected from him from the transfer portal, we're getting it. Hell of a job. Plus, we finally have an offensive coordinator in Rhett Lashley. There's a lot of positives moving forward for this program. Yes, it was an ugly game. It's never fun when you give up 41 points to a subpar NC State football team, but I'm glad we won the football game because I guarantee you, if this was last year, we would have lost easily. Alex, I know you love, not just love, you have a ton of insight about this game. Would love to hear what you think, man. I think we lost Alex. Ross, we'll just shoot it back to you until Alex gets back set up.
I'm here.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, I'm going to keep it short. I'm not going to give too much details, but obviously, a sloppy game. But, you know, I got to give credit to where it's due. Jose Borregales coming big in the clutch, as always. You know, our punter, Lou Hedley, keeping us in the game. And also De'Aaron King, man. Well, you know, you can't say enough. I think everybody's in agreement here. Without De'Aaron King, I don't think we win this game. Just his ability to, you know, extend play, to take off and run, create some type of run game. You know, obviously Mike Harley stepped up, you know, very needingly so, with Brevin out and a couple of other guys out. So I'm just happy to you know, to witness a Miami shootout and, you know, win a game offensively, which we haven't seen in a very long time. We obviously always see Miami, you know, the defense is there showing up, you know, giving havoc, you know, creating turnovers and everything. But this time it was the offense that won the game for us. So I got to keep it on the positive side and say it was a sloppy game, but we did enough to get the victory. And, you know, we pulled out with a W. So I can't complain.
Ross, want to go back to you real quick. Defensively, what's going on? What do you think's going on? I know we did a great job in the fourth quarter. We came through. We caused a lot of 3-and-outs when we needed to against NC State. What do you think is going on? I know you talked to me about Al Blades and his development at Miami past couple games. Seems like he hasn't been the same. What are your overall thoughts about our defense under Blake Baker as our defensive coordinator?
Schematically, I'm still seeing too much space being given up in the secondary overall. I'm not, and this is something I've actually been asking quite a few Canes fans and wanting to get their opinion is what do you think is going on with Blades mentally right now? I mean, I'm seeing some things from him that are actually slight regression. I don't mind guys at the college level not getting their head all the way around all the time to compete in balls and stuff. I understand that that's not always going to happen. But this was a guy that we were looking to be a turnover machine kind of for us going forward. We wanted this guy to be our number one corner, a playmaker essentially. I'm a little worried with that. I saw some angles from Bubba Bolden when he was taking some shots, especially in the run game on the outside, that really worried me, something that I'm just not used to seeing from him. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with Bubba there, but I feel confident that Bubba's going to get it right. I mean, I feel that he's going to turn it around for us pretty well. Phillips, I gotta give a shout out to him. Phillips had a monster game. He was doing nothing but causing problems on the outside. He's never going to get a holding call, but yet he's still getting in there and he's still getting quarterback pressures. So, I mean, it's pretty amazing. I'm worried about this scheme overall. I don't blame Baker directly because I feel this is a lot of Manny Diaz's defense. I think these two guys need to work together better. That's all I can think, man. I mean, I don't know if it's Baker not being able to relay the type of responses that Diaz needs when he has questions or when he has concerns. I don't know if Baker's up to that caliber or not, but I mean, something's got to go on here. Something's got to change, in my opinion.
RC in the 305, I know you wanted to express yourself a lot regarding the defense. Thoughts as well.
I think the biggest, just to in continuation with what was just being said, scheme-wise, we seem to be giving a lot of space underneath. And that's pretty much a result of having guys at the second and third level that don't quite have the speed that you need in coverage or in reaction. So when you look at our linebackers, Zach and Mr. Jennings, they're just not quick enough side to side. Their agility is very questionable at times. So what happens is you end up putting a lot more pressure on the guys behind them. So now not only do I have to worry about covering the guy I'm supposed to go and wearing man, but I got to worry about this guy taking off on the run because they're getting past that second level. So now you get that second thing in the back of your mind. So you don't play the same way because you're playing not to give up the big play. So you're no longer trying to set the tone defensively. Now, that doesn't matter whether you're in man or you're in zone or you're in combination thereof. It doesn't really matter. The mindset has changed. And that's something that when your coach starts telling you in practice, we're going this way, and it's in opposition to what you've been trained all off season, all last year, and all of a sudden now you're just trying to play safe defense. Well, you get kids that they stop reacting. And I think the scheme has changed from being the aggressor to keeping everything in front. It's almost like we got Al Golden's guy here helping out on defense at times. And you can't win that way. Listen, we know Al Blades. I mean, you look at the guy in high school, he was never going to be a big time corner. He's not a corner, to be quite frank. He's more of a free safety. He's having to play. But then you look at kids like Gilbert Frierson, Keontra Smith. Those kids are more athletic. They've got to be on the field a little bit more. Sam Brooks is more athletic. He's got to be on the field more. So you, as a defensive coordinator, you have to make a concession sooner or later. Do I give up experience and keys and knowing what to do? Or do I just let a kid who can chase it like a dog chasing a car, go get him? And you can't have too many of those guys at the same time on the field. But you got to be able to incorporate one of each. And we don't seem to be doing that. So defensively, I think it starts from the top and it trickles down. Personnel is an issue, no doubt about it. But take a look at a kid like Corey Couch. That kid's evolved in 2 years. So when you look at a kid taking a step back and Al Blades, basically you got a young kid that's pushing him too a little bit, but that kid has multiple responsibilities. Corey was playing the slot and he was playing boundary the other night. So you look at that evolution and you say to yourself, you are limited on the perimeter and you just have to work with it as best as you can. But I'm like you guys, I want to go attack. You know, if you can't throw, hey, I'll put 8 in the box. I don't care. Beat me. Show me that you can beat me. And I don't think we're doing that enough.
That's a great point. Do we have the proper personnel, to be successful on defense? Another interesting fact, the last time Miami gave up at least two games with 40 or more points, it was under Mark D'Onofrio as our defensive coordinator. So I think that states a lot. I still think this is a better defense than Mark D'Onofrio because they're not thinking as much. I just don't think zone coverage matches well with the athletes we have. And plus, in this bend but don't break scheme, you're going to give up 3 to 5 yards. That is the point, to eliminate the deep passes and just keep the short yardage situations. But I'll tell you what, if you get a great offensive coordinator and they scheme well against you, I'm telling you, UNC, that is a damn good offense. That is a very good offense. I don't care if people hate me for this. I think Sam Howell is a very good quarterback. Very good quarterback. So, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game. Petrie, what are your thoughts about the defense? Maybe you want to add on to our personnel. Maybe you think we have the talent, or maybe you think we don't.
Well, actually, I think it's great that you said it that way. Maybe we have the talent, maybe we don't. I think that we do absolutely have the talent. So this is where I actually have to disagree a little bit with Fresh talking about how Baker is doing his thing and he needs to work together with Manny. We got to get rid of Blake Baker. I'm sorry. He's not doing anything for me personally in terms of schematics. I don't see anything in terms of play calling. Players look position. It almost looks as though the offense knows what kind of defense we're going to call before we do it. And this whole bend, don't break shit, I'm over it. Nobody wants to hear that anymore. Bend, don't break is nice if we're about, okay, we're going to those little 3-yard runs here, 5-yard runs there. We're not talking about giving up chunk yards where it's 25 yards down the field, 35 yards down the field. And then guess what happens is our defense holds them in the red zone, but that's a purely talent-based kind of a thing. They're not holding them in the red zone because Blake Baker's calling the right play. We're holding them in the red zone because Jalen Phillips is getting to the quarterback. Bubba Bolden's over there prowling center field. He's making sure that he's doing the best to be in the right time. Al Blades, we've seen a little bit of a regression, but he's still a decent cornerback. He's covering the wide receivers where they need to be. And so you're sitting there and you're going, well, yeah, bend, don't break. So we're giving up 80-yard drives and then they're getting field goals and sometimes they're going to punch it in for a touchdown. Blake Baker's not the guy. And I think that we saw very clearly in the fourth quarter of this last game. You saw people all over Twitter were speculating that Manny took the play sheet and they said, Baker, you're not calling plays anymore, buddy. Done. You're over. Your turn's over. Manny called the play. They forced 2 straight punts and then had the interception on the final, NC State drive of the game. That allowed us to put the game on ice. I think that was Manny calling those plays. There's a lot of Canes fans that think it was Manny calling those plays. And Paul, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you watch this a lot more closely than I do. But it felt like it was Manny calling those plays. Am I right?
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I mean, the whole game we're struggling to get NC State off of the field, and then fourth quarter comes and we're just getting 3 and outs left and right. I completely agree. And, that's very valid. I'm curious how much Manny has a say in the defense. There's times throughout games in the past where, people have even stated like, hey, Manny is calling the plays this game. He's got the handcuffs on Blake Baker. So we've seen that at times already throughout the season. So no, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he did take charge of the fourth quarter, 100%, or maybe even.
You talk about a team scoring 41 points in the first 3 quarters and then doing absolutely goose egg nothing.
Yeah, I think they had like
nothing in the fourth quarter. Somebody might have the numbers better than I do. I'm not sure about this one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but 6 yards in the fourth quarter, I think it was.
6, yeah.
6 yards. 6 yards of total offense in the fourth quarter. After scoring 41 points in the first 3, Manny took the play sheet. Let's get real.
Let's give credit to that special teams, because that special teams gave up 7. So it's really 34 they gave up, and 34 is still too much to score in 3 quarters. Just to add a little bit here, there is no doubt that Manny Diaz is involved every day in what they do on defense. There's no doubt that during practice, he's on the defensive side. So Blake, in my opinion, okay, man, and I don't know anything here, but in my opinion, Blake is an extension of Manny. But in the end, those halftime adjustments are coming from Manny, and they're coming from Blake and your entire defensive staff. But Manny's the one that's going to say when to do what or make a change when he wants to. But the game plan itself, defensively, situational based, personnel based, how you script their offense, how they script their offense the first 15, 12 plays of the game. That's all set up by them defensively together. So that part really is consistent with what most coaching staffs do. The part that where you see someone take a little bit more control is when you make certain adjustments that are aggressive, okay? The delay blitz is not an aggressive approach.
Right.
That's trying to out-scheme you, and that's trying to catch you off guard and get the quarterback in position to get confused and then go attack. So we saw that. But what you're mentioning in that fourth quarter, goose egg, they pretty much attacked from all 3 gaps, from the AB gap and the outside gap. When you do that and you switch it up and you're not predictable, that's called being the aggressor. And guess what happens? Guys on the outside, they tend to be a little bit more excited to go ahead and get a great jam on that receiver. Why? Because we're all attacking, and it's mentality. How long can we mentally and physically attack an offense? And I don't know. I'm not there every day in practice, but I can tell you guys, I don't think we can really last too long doing it that way. I don't think we can survive that way.
Speaking of breaking down Miami football defenses, I know Alex, he is always watching film around the clock. Alex, what did you think happened with Miami's defense the fourth quarter? Did they give NC State a different look? I would love to hear your thoughts on this matter.
Well, I'll start off by just piggybacking off of, a couple of you that mentioned it. I don't want to speculate whether Manny or Baker was calling, the plays or the shots in the fourth quarter. All I got to say is there was definitely some adjustments made, and there wasn't no bend, don't break at the end. We actually challenged the quarterback, and straight up pinned our ears back and said, you know what? If we're going to lose this game, we're going to lose this game being the aggressor. You understand? And I think that's ultimately was the difference, besides the first half of us killing ourselves with penalties once again. I would break it down in stats, but I don't think that this was a stat game or a tendency, sort of say. It was more of, the lack of abilities that we have at certain positions. And don't take this as I'm attacking certain players, but we need help in our linebacking core. I'm just going to be straight up and honest with you. And when other teams see that, and all the offensive coordinators see how much we're struggling at our linebacking core in our second level, other teams are going to take advantage of that situation, especially in the pass game. We need help, period. There's too many misassignments, bad angles, by our linebackers. And correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody, you could jump in, but I'm still not seeing a good, solid performance by our linebackers, and too many drop picks, by our secondary. There was a bunch of INTs we should have had. We should have had at least 3 turnovers.
Say that again.
We should have had at least 3 turnovers. And it is what it is. I'm not going to break it down into stats because I could go all day into this, and I'll save it for a different video. But I'm just going to say, something did change in the fourth quarter, whether that was from design or not. I'm just happy that we did it and we were able to pull out the victory. I'm just going to be very general here and say that we should do that a little bit more often.
But why do we wait? I mean, why don't we set the tone from the very beginning of the game that we're going to attack you? We're going to hit you as the opposing quarterback. We're going to hit you.
Right.
Once we put pressure in that fourth quarter and we changed it all around, the interception that occurred, it was an interception that occurred because the quarterback threw a bad pass because he was being rushed. He had gotten hit and he didn't want to get hit, so he rushed the throw. He threw it behind or way out behind the receiver. Kid can barely get his hands on it. It's a deflection. We get an interception. And that's all a result of doing what? Being the aggressor early. So why do you start a game and we allow that quarterback to get comfortable? Once you get rhythm as a quarterback, you've got the advantage, okay? I mean, look at Tom Brady right now. He's been hit 3 or 4 times in the first quarter. He just threw a pick. He's not throwing the ball well. Why? Because nobody likes to get hit in the mouth. And we have to go back to that from the very beginning. If you look at what our traditional defenses have always done, we've attacked and we've hit quarterbacks. Okay. And if
RC, you want to know why? You want to know why that happened, RC? It's because Blake Baker was calling the plays and Manny was calling the plays when that interception happened. All I'm saying.
And listen, they do everything together. I mean, that we all know that, so to say it's all one guy, it's not kind of fair either because we're not in there. But that's how most coaching staffs run, especially a guy that's defensive. Okay, you have to trust your kids, and when you don't trust your kids and you play soft to start, it impacts them on so many different levels, and that's what you're seeing mentally with these kids. That's why Al Blades doesn't look right. DJ Ivy half the time has no idea what's going on. Am I in zone or am I in man? Which one am I in? And you see it, young kids that they have that they don't have a conscience. They just play like to Corey Couch. It hasn't settled into them yet because it hasn't impacted them. They're just playing. They're not thinking.
Right.
So it starts with what you decide to do as a defense. And Manny Diaz this is his defense, guys. However you want to say this is him. But why are we allowing teams to dictate and let those quarterbacks get comfortable? Man, I don't know. They know a lot more than me. That's all. They've forgotten more than I'll ever know. But man, I don't get it.
Yeah, and they get paid the millions. And what I don't understand is, how we always make second string quarterbacks and third string quarterbacks look like first string quarterbacks, and we make them look like all-stars. Go back to Virginia Tech the year before. I believe that was Hooker's first game, and we made him look like a superstar. This is a common theme going on. I don't know if it's maybe we don't have enough film on the guys or whatever it is, but year in and year out, we keep struggling against these backup quarterbacks. But eventually, it actually worked in our favor this game because we won the game, luckily because of the Eric King. But what would happen if we didn't have the Eric King? We would be talking about a loss right now.
We're 2-5
and completely out of the ACC race.
Yeah, absolutely. And, not to get away from that subject of the NC State game, but I mean, we got Virginia Tech in Blacksburg at noon coming up this Saturday. We're not favored by 2. I mean, we're not favored. Virginia Tech's favored by 2. We did lose to Virginia Tech last year at home. This could be a tough game. I mean, you never know playing in Blacksburg. You never know, especially in this landscape of college football season. Penn State, I think they lost again. They're 0-2. I could be wrong on that. Michigan lost to Indiana. They're 1-2. You just don't know what's going to happen in this landscape. Minnesota's off to an awful start. Ross, anything? I know you were looking at player grades. Anything that stood out to you going into the Virginia Tech game after the NC State big win? Any players that didn't play that well, grade out well, or graded out really well?
Well, I can say definitely for the Virginia Tech part of it on their side of things, watching them beat us last year with kind of a fairly mediocre QB performance in our own house does worry me a little bit. I mean, he did throw the 3 touchdowns, but we're talking about a guy that put up less than 200 yards on us.
Right.
If he comes out and he plays a little bit better game, and their run game right now, they're starting running backs averaging 8.6 yards per carry, guys. If he gets past this defensive line of ours and gets around our slow linebackers, if Bubba's out of space even by just a yard, we're looking at giving up some really big gains, and it's something I'm really worried about. One thing though, well, we're talking about the defense and we're going forward this stuff with Miami. One thing I want to mention though, and I think we need to keep doing it, is on 4 blitz plays, Couch had 3 quarterback pressures. I think that's something that we can continue to look forward to, and we can keep going to that as needed. I don't want to do it often because we'll get exposed, but I think that's something that we could definitely use against this Virginia Tech offense. I've seen them enough to know that Couch can cause them some problems, I think.
I don't really love the comparison to last year's Virginia Tech game. I'm sorry. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't that the game that Jaron Williams, the wheels really came off the train? He threw 3 interceptions in the first, 20 or so minutes. The first half, definitely.
Yes, sir. That was
and so Virginia
exactly
Tech went up early on us, 17-0 or like 20-7 or something like that. They went up on us pretty big or pretty early. N'Kosi Perry ends up coming in after Williams got benched and nearly almost won us that damn football game. So, and also that was with Virginia Tech last year. They had that defensive coordinator who was like, it's his final year or something. They were trying to send him out on a high note. And so that's not going to happen again this year. I think we put the clamps on those boys, and I think we beat them pretty handily.
And if I may just jump in real quick, Ross, feel free to jump in as well. I completely agree with you, Petri. The only thing that I would, pitch in on is that, Virginia Tech just lost to Liberty. But that doesn't really mean anything. We could lose to Virginia Tech come next week. So I just look at it as, are we going to play down to the other team's level? Because from what I read, we came out as underdogs for this game, and we keep playing teams to their level. We don't play up to our potential. We play up to their potential, and that's what continuously bothers me every week. That we just find a way to win, and it's like if we're still learning as a team to win, like Manny says, and it really bothers me because I still think that Virginia Tech is a better team than NC State. So, if we play like this against NC State, you can't tell me Virginia Tech doesn't have a better roster than NC State.
Right.
So, just for the sake of, playing devil's advocate here, who says that, Virginia Tech doesn't, does create 3 turnovers again?
Right.
I know Bod Foster is not there anymore, but still, it could happen. So we got to be careful with Virginia Tech. It's another road game, and we play pretty bad on the road. And I just don't want to see these undisciplined mistakes that we do. Penalties in the first half. Thank God we corrected here against NC State on the second half. But if we start off sloppy against Virginia Tech, it can get ugly, especially not being able to run the ball. and
Well, and
depending so heavily on the
and
King.
I'm not saying that Virginia Tech is not going to get 3 turnovers. They very well may get 3 turnovers. I'm just saying it's not going to be 3 turnovers on our starting quarterback, De'Aaron King, within the first quarter and a half of football.
I got you. I understand.
I'm sorry. Like Jaron Williams got punched in the mouth last year. He looked like he was on another planet against Virginia Tech. Listen, we were all singing his praises last year. Wow, his completion percentage is about 70%. He's never thrown an interception so far. And we were about 6 games into that season. And oh wow, he never thrown. And then guess what? He throws 3 in the first quarter and some change. I don't know. It wasn't even like the first full 2 quarters. It was the first quarter and then 5 or 6 minutes into the second. So about a quarter and a half. And he had 3 picks. He ends up getting benched. It ain't going to happen with De'Aaron King this year.
I think what Virginia Tech did last year, and I think you'll see a little bit different approach from them this year defensively. They didn't feel Jaron could beat them deep, so they put 8 in the box, and they said, "Go ahead and beat us." And what happened? He got hit in the mouth, like you just mentioned, and he was.
And they were right.
He short-circuited and he got exposed. So the approach that they had worked from the very beginning. But to look at NC State, they've got 3 guys that'll be in the NFL. In a year or 2, they'll be in the NFL. There's 3 guys. That left tackle is going to be very good. He'll be a top 15 pick, no doubt about it. Running back's pretty good. They got 1 safety that didn't play much. I guess he was hurt off and on. He's going to play. But when you look at Liberty's got 6 guys, not 1, not 2, 6 that NFL scouts were at the game, not so much to watch the Bot Tech guys. They're watching Hugh Freeze's guys. Liberty's loaded with some talent. They don't have enough depth. But what little talent they do have really exposed Virginia Tech. And they played zone, but when they loaded the box up and they went after this kid and they got to him, or they sped him up, his incompletions came from there, his potential turnovers came from there. So the approach was the aggression. They couldn't sustain it the whole game, obviously. So they had to work in some zone and some other things, but they were able to at least get him out of his comfort zone. And I think the approach that they utilize, we should replicate. You can't allow this kid to get comfortable from the very beginning, which has been almost, our mantra the last 3 games for some reason. So, and offensively, they're going to give us at least the flats are going to be open all day. That defense will give us 3-4 yards. They don't care about that. So how patient is De'Aaron going to be? Are they going to load the box, try to hit him, utilize the scheme that Clemson used, or are they going to go ahead and play some zone? We don't know what their approach is going to be, but I do know that they are going to give you the underneath stuff all day. They don't care about that. They'd rather die a slow death than give up a big play. So we have to take what's given to us on Saturday. And the fact that it's a 12 o'clock game, I prefer that over a night game on the road any day of the week. It's a lot easier to keep your kids focused. You get in there around 2:30, 3 o'clock. You get off the plane. You go eat something. You do your walkthrough. You're at the hotel. You do your film stuff. And then you wake up breakfast and go kick somebody's ass. There isn't that long delay of a Saturday night game. So I really like the 12 o'clock game. Plus, weather-wise, it should be a better conditions for us to play in. So I think the 12 o'clock game, I think it's a plus for us.
Do we know how many fans Virginia Tech's going to be allowing into that game by any chance?
I have no idea.
That place can get pretty damn rowdy when we're up there, guys. I mean, it's just a place that I never sleep on. They could be a 1-win team, and I'm just not going to sleep on VT going up to VT. It's just history tells me I just can't do that quite yet,
Well, when Sandman comes out, no matter what, whether there's 10,000 or 15 or 20, that team's going to be ready to play. Bottom line, they're going to be ready to play.
Right.
I'd like to see running back wise for us. I'd like to see Cam get started earlier than what's been going on. I think we made a good effort the other night to get him going early, and we had 2 good runs. And after that, we stopped bouncing things outside. So I'm hoping that Rhett's going to get him going early. As much as we want De'Aaron, to be an option guy, a read option guy. He's not. He's a passer, man. He's just not. You're asking him to do something he's never done. He's tried to incorporate. He's always been able to run when things break down. He's never been a guy that you run plays for running wise, and then he's able to execute. It's just not part of his instinct. So I'm really hoping that they get away from having those plays that are earmarked for him, those draws for him, and those other plays are utilizing from off the read option, because that's not his instinct. I'd rather get stuff in the flat. I'd rather get some bubble screens going.
Right.
Those things I think help him get into that rhythm early, and then take a deep shot. So hopefully we get away from forcing him to run, but we get our other guys incorporating the running game more so, and that opens up the passing game for us.
See, I think the opposite.
Our pass blocking this last game, in comparison to our run blocking, was far superior. Even if you look at it at a grade wise, even like a PFF or those kind of thing grade wise, I mean, they even got guys like Scaife, 84.2 pass blocking grade with a 58.8 run blocking grade. I mean, this is where I'd like to really see us get back to that focus on the run, like you mentioned already. Get Cam going earlier, really focus on that, get him going and bring some life back to that run game. I think it could be huge for us going forward. We've been winning despite that at the moment here. We've been doing a little more of somewhat of a committee feel at times and stuff like that. But getting Cam going, I think, would be really huge for us. We just got to get that OL blocking right again.
And
Right,
realize,
and
we haven't had Brevin for how many games? Brevin hasn't played in how many games? That's your
3
best
games.
offensive weapon. Without him, man, it makes a defensive coordinator's job a hell of a lot harder when you got someone like Brevin Jordan out there you have to game plan for. I mean, it makes it hard.
Yeah.
Right, but going back to your point, Ross, the thing is that I honestly think that Virginia Tech's going to load the box up early on us and force D'Eriq King to become a passer early, just to fluster him a bit and challenge us to beat him over the top. I think that's what Virginia Tech's going to do. And the problem I've been seeing, and this is, you could go back to week 1 and follow it all along, this has been a trend. Miami has struggled in their run blocking, so I think this is a problem, especially Cam Harris going left. Look at the left side of the line compared to the right side of the line when it comes to the blocking. We have issues in that, and we need to improve in our run blocking. That's why you see us not run the ball that successfully, and we have to depend on D'Eriq King when the pocket collapses so much to take off and run and create a play, create some type of run game. I think a smarter thing to do would be to get our back, lined up and use them in the passing game. Get Jalen Knighton in there. I don't know if this is still a thing, but Jalen Knighton was rated one of the highest efficient slot receivers in all of college football when he was being utilized in the slot. Do some creative things. Get some screens going to Cam Harris. Maybe we could probably, depend on that a little bit and see how it works out. If it doesn't work out early, then obviously we have to switch it up. But that's just my 2 cents.
Doesn't
I
it feel
think we ran a screen for him earlier, and he dropped the screen. He dropped the screen. He got caught in another. But we had one really good play set up, and he dropped it, and it would have gone for a good 10, 12 yards.
right? And executing is everything, regarding play call. If our guys don't execute, they drop passes. What we call to look worse than what actually could be. If the play doesn't develop properly. So, I think Rhett Lashley right now, I think he's done an outstanding job. Sometimes you just don't have the perfect personnel. Our offensive line at times throughout the season has been vaguely, subpar. It was better than last year, but we can only go up. But, so at times, we're just working with the personnel we got. And I think he's making the best out of it. Ross, do you have anything else regarding Miami going up against Virginia Tech you want to talk about?
Just clean up the penalties, man. This last game, 12 penalties for 101 yards. I ain't going to do it on the road against Virginia Tech. That's all I got to pretty much add to that one.
And that's been something that's been killing us this whole year. I think we have over 470 yards of penalties going into this game. we were roughly averaging, I think, like 70 a game. I mean, that is awful. You're giving already going into the game 70 yards of penalties every single game to the opposing team. That's basically you're giving them a touchdown. And we play Clemson or Notre Dame again. 12 penalties, you're not going to get the win. You're not. I had someone refer to the Cotton Bowl game with Randall Hill running through the tunnel, where this is the most penalized game Miami ever had. Like, it's not the same team.
That team had 12 first rounders on it.
Yeah. And they played in the Cotton.
Yeah, and bro, like it's repetitively every time we have a bye week, the very next game, we just come out and commit so many penalties. Like, what are we doing for preparation? I mean, are we not taking advantage of the bye week? I don't know what's going on. Whatever we're doing is not working. If we're showing boxing fights and this and that, or doing yoga, I don't know what we're doing, eating candy bars or having a bowl of stupid. I don't know what it is. I don't mean to offend the kids or the coaches. I'm just saying, there's something going on there that we need to fix, because it's obviously a trend that continues. Thank God we don't have a bye week.
Out of Manny's mouth this week, though, bro, did you hear what he had to say about this? He said that we didn't need to make a single change in our bye week preparation. We didn't need to do anything different.
Well, I mean, that's on him. I mean, he gets paid the millions. I don't. I just sit back here, analyze what's going on, and talk about it. That's our job to do, right? His job is to perform. So, I mean, ultimately, we're the fan base. We're going to complain about things. But if it's factual what we complain about, and it affects, our record, which it has, I mean, we finally got a win off of a bye week, then, that might be the base to fire Manny. I'm not calling for Manny's head. I don't think he should be fired. I think he's improved every year, and I think he will. But he can't just sit there and say, oh, there's nothing wrong with our bye week preparation, because there clearly was. So I just don't. I want to see the penalties cleaned up. I don't want to see the players like come out and try to have an Ed Reed halftime speech. We don't need that. If anything, we need to tell the kids to go into the locker room and shut the hell up. Don't say anything. Take off your damn cleats. Listen to what I gotta say. It's not about Ed Reed hype up or none. It's none of that stuff. What needs to happen is they need to be focused. They need to be more focused and just follow the game plan and don't commit these stupid mistakes. Period. I mean, that's just my opinion once again.
What happens, Alex, though, is a lot of times as players, when you see the game plan that contradicts what you've been prepping for 7-8 months, it's going to impact you. And that lets me know you don't believe in me as a player. So you can't send mixed messages to kids. 17 to 23-year-olds, you do that, you lose them. And that's why this win was so important, is that they've obviously made some major changes because, they don't trust their personnel, but you can't have them understand that. They have to understand that there's a different way to win. And I don't think these kids can go and play differently. You can't play passive. If you're used to everything being in attack mode,
right,
you're screwing with the kid's head. And when you do that, man, you lose them. So
I completely agree with you. I try to see it as, if Nick Saban was the one calling, doing these things, what's the difference between Manny and him? I know Nick Saban obviously has more accomplishments, but what's the difference? This is your head coach. This is the head guy you're supposed to trust. So you trust in whatever you say. And hopefully, the kids buy into that.
And speaking of other coaches, one thing I just want to see from Manny, and it is year 2. He's 6-1. We're number 9 in the nation. Butch Davis, I don't know if a lot of people remember, his first couple years were not the prettiest by all means. He was working with probation at Miami, but as a first-time head coaching me, it just wasn't pretty as a game day coach either. And he was a hell of a recruiter at Miami, at North Carolina, got a job with the Cleveland Browns to be their head coach. So, Manny's time at Miami, it's still being written. So we'll evaluate him when the time comes, when his time is over, whether it's in 5 years, or who knows? Who knows how long Manny Diaz will be here? But one thing I just want to see from him is just that killer instinct, man, that aggressive coaching. I like to run up the score. I like to be an asshole when other teams are assholes. And I just want to see that more from Manny. Instead of kneeling the football with 2 minutes left, punch it in. I know there's always that turnover thing, but come on, just be more greedy and run up the score. And that's all I want to see. But hey, maybe that takes time for a head coach to get that kind of mantra, that confidence. I know it was a humble pill to swallow in his first year, but that's something I would like to see from Manny Diaz moving forward. All right, Ross, you got anything else for us, man, before we get into score predictions?
The only something that is a little off topic here, but is a recruiting point here. I had seen quite a bit of chatter about Terrence Lewis possibly getting a little bit more of a lean towards Miami. I'm all for it as long as we talked about it at length before, guys. But as long as the staff checks off all those boxes and they're okay with it, I'm okay with it. I'd love to see us bring in an elite guy at linebacker. I mean, that guy is the prototypical new age linebacker. He's going to be a stud. I'd really like to see us bring him in.
I think 2 weeks ago when they played Northwestern, you saw the impact that he can have on the game. His ability to go sideline to sideline. He's a very aggressive kid, but he's a smart kid. He has a really good football IQ. There was a couple of times they changed the offense. Northwestern changed what they were doing. Check with me, and he audibled the defense perfectly. Had a really big stop on 3rd down. So football-wise, he checks all the boxes. Physically, he checks all the boxes. His decision-making outside of that field, outside of those confines, is where he doesn't check the boxes. So if you're going to have someone like that, you've got to have someone that's going to be the mentor, someone that's going to be pretty much bringing him along, and someone that has control. That someone has to be an alpha. And when you look at our team, I don't see an alpha on defense. I mean, Bubba, at times you see a little bit of it, but there is no true alpha. As we're going to hold you accountable. Can that come from one of his peers that signs with us this year? Yeah. It could come from one of the kids from Northwestern. It could come from the kid from Palmetto. Hell, if you ask me, the alpha that's coming in is James. James is the one guy that can say, we're going this way, and everyone else starts to follow that kid. And he's transferred a couple of times in high school, but whether it's Pace, whether it's Western High School or Heritage again, where this is his second stint in Heritage, you can't find one coach or one player that doesn't describe this kid as the leader, as the kid who owns the defense. And I think that's very significant here.
I like that you mentioned that, and I'm going to spin it a certain way. I do think that we have alphas. I just think that sometimes IQ-wise, we're not there yet. And I don't mean IQ as you're dumb. I mean, football IQ-wise, we don't make the right decisions at times because we try to do too much. Instead of just trusting the guy next to you to do the job, you got people trying to make a play or do a little too much. And
Right.
That's what leads to sometimes these us giving up big plays. So, I mean, I think we have a couple of alphas on the defense.
I completely agree with what Alex said. To me, the perfect alpha is Ed Reed. He's going to give that passionate halftime speech, and he's going to be the best damn football player on that field. For example, Nesta Silvera, you can talk all you want before the game, but all last year throughout his Miami career, he completely underperformed. I cannot stand when individuals are talking big game before a game and then we get blown out and they don't show up. So, James Williams, 6'5", monster safety, has all the intangibles to be great. I want him to be the future of Miami. I want more guys to follow him. We saw Romello Brinson, what he did to Jason Marshall when he played against Miami Palmetto Senior High School. I think the future is looking good at Miami. Let's get into score predictions. Petrie, what do you got? Miami, Virginia Tech, 12 o'clock, noontime, ESPN2. Who you got winning?
Yeah, I have Miami winning pretty comfortably. It's going to be 38-27. Miami wins.
Love it. RC in the 305, what you got?
I got another shootout. I got 45-42 Miami.
Ross?
Yeah, I got a closer game than I think some of us would like it to be, but I got us going 35-27 on them. I think they're going to give us a little bit of battle on the road here, but I think King is the guy that puts the offense on his back and gets the job done when we need it to.
Alex?
Sorry to rain on your guys' parade. I got 32-33 Virginia Tech.
Hey, that's fine. But if you're right, hey, tip my hat off to you, Alex. No doubt about it. But if you're wrong, hey, you know how the story goes. I got Miami winning 35-31. 35-31. I think we should take care of business. The key of the game is to develop a run game, whether it's with De'Ara King, Cameron Harris, Don Chaney. Someone needs to get us over 100 rushing yards, and we'll do fine. Passing the football, I'm not worried about that. And getting to the quarterback, creating turnovers, winning the turnover battle. That is the identity of Miami Hurricanes defense. Getting to the quarterback, creating chaos, and turning the ball over. We're the turnover chain. So I think those are the goals. And of course, special teams, Borregales, tremendous job being perfect with field goals. That's the reason why we won a lot of games as well. So that's what I got, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to talk Canes football with you guys. And thank you so much for taking time of your night to come on.
Thanks, guys.
Paul, thank you. Fresh, we'll talk later, man. Thank you. Bye, guys.